My name is Alicia Moore, and I am the mother of Alicia Moore. The past 2 days have been extremely, they've been emotional, but I think more so than anything, it's been like a cinder block has been lifted off my shoulders. When I first found out that there was actually an arrest made, I couldn't even talk on the phone. I just cried. My sister, she was there. We were there together, and she spoke. So it's been pretty hard. My other two sons and my daughter, my two adult sons, one's out of town and the other one's on the other side of town. And we were going to get together today when my other son came back in town. But having to break the news to them was a relief, and I could hear the breath in them just push out from relief as well. But it's been pretty emotional. I gave up hope that I would see my son way back in November.
Of 2016?
Yeah, when I woke up out of a sleep, a hard sleep from, being up for a while and your body's just tired and you just pass out. And I remember waking up from one of those type of sleeps, but I was sobbing, just crying, tears. I guess I was crying in my sleep, and I woke up and my mate, he asked me why was I crying, and I said, Elijah's gone. But I just knew in my gut that he was gone. I knew. And a lot of people didn't want, they were like, you can't say that, you don't know that. And I'm saying, you guys have to understand that there's always a connection with a mother and her child, always. I don't care how far away they are. And I knew then that he was gone, and there was nothing no one could tell me different. And the emotions of seeing these people walking down the street, or seeing them in the store, or them coming to my job was the worst, because I'm like, you guys, you did something so selfish and senseless, yet you get to go home to your parents, and you get to go home and see your family. But you wouldn't allow my son or Enrique the opportunity to come back home to their families. Because of what? Pride? What was it? Was it pride, really? Because surely it wasn't what was taken, so it had to have been pride. But just, they don't even realize what they've done, how this has affected my family, how this has affected Enrique's family, and people who knew these kids, people who knew them intimately, and what type of people they were and were gonna be, how great these kids were. In the beginning, they didn't want, the first 2 weeks, my son was still labeled as a runaway. And I kept saying, my son has never run away. He's never even talked about it, or, like in a threatening tone or any type of way. I'm gonna run away, never. And I kept telling him I can't get any help for my son because you guys have him listed as a runaway. And it wasn't until I went to the mayor's office to make a complaint, is when I was called in to come in and speak with them, and that they were looking at the case and were just about to call me and tell me to come in. Because I had been saying that these boys' disappearances are not, these aren't just random disappearances. These are connected. These are connected, and whoever is involved, both boys knew them. I kept saying that from the very beginning, and at one point someone told me, well, you don't know that for sure. And I said, Stevie Wonder can see that that's what's happening here. They're friends, they work together, they, come on. And a lot of things that I had asked from the cops, from the police to do, I was pretty much told that it couldn't be done. I asked if they could pull up old messages, but it wasn't like I was asking questions that I didn't already know the answer to. And I was told a completely different answer, which in and of itself took away any type of trust in them doing their actual job. It took that away. So after 6 months of going through that, I just stopped talking and I just began to do my own footwork and my own policing and my own, with my own network of people to find out what happened, why it happened, and where were these people at, and what was going on with this. And I found a lot of things out that I never shared with the police, that I never shared with my family even, because it was too hard to talk to them about or tell them, considering I didn't have my son's body or anything nothing. At one point, it was said that both boys were dismembered, that there was this place that it happened at, and that place belonged to an officer. Not in Knight's Landing. Just screaming and at the officer, the officers or the police officers on my son's case, like, so you guys aren't going to go up there, so you want me to go up there? So that means if I take a life or I lose mine, then you'll go there? And if that's what it takes for me to do, then that's what I'll do. And being stopped from doing that because it was just that startling. Like, how can you not go up there and check? Is it because it's one of your own who is supposedly has happened on their property? I just couldn't get it. And so that was some of the startling things. And prior to everything happening to my son, I knew nothing of them at all. I've never met them face to face. I've never spoken with them on a one-on-one, nothing like that. Up until the arrest, their names were strong. Their names were really strong, considering a conversation that my son Elijah had with his brother, my other son, and my other son saying, "Mom, it could only be these people." And going out into the community at night, late night, passing out cigarettes and sodas so people would get to know who I was and get comfortable and not think that I was 21 Jump Street. And people began to talk to me. That's when I began to kind of like get an idea of who these people were. And then I began to run into people at my job who knew these people on a personal level and would tell me how sick they were. Like, these are the kind of people that would drown puppies when they were kids. And so now here they are, adults, menaces to society, and no one's dealt with them yet. Everyone's afraid to say something. And I'm like, why? They're not the mafia. They're not the Mexican mafia. They're not the Italian mafia. They're nobodies. And everybody's afraid of them. Why? I couldn't understand why until I really began to dig and find out some of their history. So in a way, it's kind of like in my policing or my own digging, I've come to know them like on a personal level. Yeah, and it's not a good look. I'm not so much referring to Shondell and Jesus, but apparently something's wrong with them as well. if they were hanging out with these type of people, these brothers, and engaging in the same kind of behavior or allowing acts of violence to occur which take lives, then they're just as sick. That's pretty much all I know about them. You know, that they're just some really, really, really abused, hurt people who hurt people. And they don't deserve, they don't need to be on the streets. They don't need to be on the streets. I mean, what if a little kid comes and takes a rose out of their yard, their mother's yard? What are they gonna do? Are they gonna disappear too? So I really feel like cussing, but I won't. I'm gonna keep it civilized. But yeah, these aren't really nice people, period. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it went down that way because of their lack of respect for the youth that they were dealing to, and the disrespect that, from what my other son told me, that Elijah felt from them after it happened and what he told his brother. Because he never mentioned anything to me about a fight or anything of that nature. Never. I didn't find out until a week after he vanished. But yeah, because of that, and something so small. I mean,
That's legal now.
That's legal. It became legal the very next day my son vanished. They kept my son, both of my boys, they kept it pretty quiet, and they didn't think much of it, apparently, according to my other son. He said, Mom, Elijah didn't think much of it, it was nothing. It was like a fight, and he took their weed, and that was that. Where we're from, pretty much that's that, or else it would be a physical fight, but never where they disappear. Never where all of his friends are being called on the phone or however to find out where he lived. So it was more than just that. It wasn't even that as to why any of this happened, why they conspired to harm my son, take his life. It was pride and arrogance and selfishness and just senseless, cold-hearted. That I hope that they can, at some point in their lives, before their last breath is taken, that they can come to terms with what they did, repent, and seek the face of God. Seek Him while He may be found for them. As for me, I'm trying to learn how to forgive them and walk in love, but I'm not there yet, because I really would prefer to take justice into my own hands and not let them see a day in court, but I cannot. I have to do what I know I'm supposed to do and allow the laws of this land to wield its judgment, its justice. And I just hope, like I said, that they find some sort of clarity and come to grips with what they did. And it's not going to be pretty when they do, because it's very, very ugly. And that they can really, really surrender that to God and turn their lives over to Him. That's it. That's all I can say to them. I asked them that question, well, how did you guys come to this conclusion? And before I asked that question, there was an anonymous call from a female who told us to look at them. Um, but they still weren't really being looked at. Every other avenue was being checked out. And I asked them when they said that we're going to pursue this area, this avenue. I said, well, what made you change your mind? And he said it's because your son's cell phone pinged in that town, Knights Landing. And I said, I don't know anybody in Knights Landing. Elijah doesn't know anyone in Knights Landing. Where is Knights Landing anyway? And he told me, and he said that Elijah's phone pinged there in Knights Landing, and then it came back to Woodland. And the phone was never recovered. But that's what led them down this road. That's the initial portion of it, yeah. They haven't shared any of that. But in my own, since this has begun, I've like gone into every law book, looked at every case that's similar to this case, looked at the circumstantial, and the physical evidence in those cases, and I know that there has to be something substantial that they know or they have, which is the reason why they did the arrest. I'm not sure what that could be. They haven't shared anything with me, myself, or my family. So just waiting to hear what that thing is that they do know and they're saving. Yeah. I would tell Elijah that he did nothing wrong other than taking something from someone. He did nothing wrong. Him making a decision for whatever reason that was to go someplace with someone who still needs to be brought to justice as well was not wrong for him. It was not wrong at all. And I would say that to Elijah because of the type of person he is, the type of person he was, and the impression that he's left in this world with the people that knew him. That he did what he was supposed to do. He did exactly what he was supposed to do, and that I love him, and I'm still very, very, very proud of him. And nothing will change my love for my son. And that when I think about him, I do become a proud mother. The night before he vanished on his birthday, we were on the front porch and he said, "Mom, I told you I was going to make you proud." And because we were just talking about graduation, and he had some ideas of where he wanted to go and what he wanted to do, and I just smiled and I said, "Now that's thinking, kid. Now you're thinking. Now you're thinking about when you turn 18." And he said, "Mom, I told you I was going to make you proud." And I said, you always have. You always have." So I would just tell him that I'm still proud of him. First of all, being a black woman in America, my trust in law enforcement wasn't very, very rich anyway, considering what I've seen done to people who look like myself, for one. But in the case of my son, I had to trust them to do what they said that they were going to do, and to be as transparent with me as possible, especially when there was questions that I needed answered, or questions that I already knew the answers to, but that they could confirm for me, which weren't met. feeling like there was some sort of cover up, um, um, just different feelings. And yeah, definitely hurt my trust. Definitely. What happens now is I keep pushing for justice. I wouldn't stop. I mean, I never did stop. From the very beginning, you know, when I told them I wasn't leaving the mayor's office, I was making a complaint, and I began to call all these outside organizations to help me come down here to Woodland and put Woodland on the map. That's what I need, because they're not going to do me like this. They're not going to do my son like this. I'm not having that. It took a it just takes a toll, man. It takes a really big toll. I just go on, like I said, and push for justice, push for sentencing to be appropriate. This is a capital situation. It's definitely a capital situation, and it holds the death penalty. And I'm pushing for that. Nothing less. They may never see a needle. They may never. But I want them to see the death row. I want them to see that. I want them to sit there.